let's get this game underway. So, first ban. Well, we just talked about it. Aurelia straight in there.
Yeah, and we just talked about it again. Lissandra snatched away. They really wanted to get that away. Lissandra taken away from Thaldrin in that top lane, and Aurelia from Beansu. And we actually, to be fair, Beansu put up a fantastic performance on Aurelia, if I'm not mistaken. He went 2-0-10. It was this horribly, incredibly early game tanky Aurelia, which can sometimes happen if he gets a little early lead. I'm pretty sure those 2 kills were pretty early on, and then went on to be this real force to be reckoned with in the front line.
Yeah, the Triforce Randians, I think he ended up with GA as well, Guardians Angels. So one of those champions you don't want to be up against. Rengar ban, that's an interesting one. It was picked, I believe. I'm trying to see if it was picked.
Right.
I don't think it was.
It was Takey. Takey picked it in the jungle.
Yes, I mean, so they've... Okay, I mean, it was... I'm not sure ban-worthy because he went 4-5-4.
Yeah,
it's not really a ban-worthy champion, I'd say. If you're looking towards maybe a Vi, which was actually the ban that Dark Passage pulled in with their fellow Turkish team, that would have been more ideal, I think. But Jarvan being banned out by SK Gaming Prime, that's the standard. Theocles, he's been very vocal. That is his favorite champion. That is the one he wants to go for. And, of course, it is the main champion in the meta right now. Would absolutely have been first pick, I think, for Aces High.
I think you're absolutely spot on. It's either the balance between an AD carry first pick or a jungle first pick. And it's probably right in seeing that actually Jarvan did get banned away, and Nah being that final ban, we were suggesting that was going to be taken away, and so leaving that to the red side to take that one away finally. And actually, we were talking about it's going to be a jungler AD carry, and they've just blown that out the water. And Aces High ban away Janna.
I see what you did there. Now, Janna was actually banned out in the first 2 games for Aces High, so... Interesting their first pick. It is a champion that a lot of teams will value as a first pick over in career as well. No surprise that it is going to come in there, and no surprises if we're going to see a jungler coming out from SK Gaming Prime straight away either.
As a response, of course. Yeah, they are looking to perhaps be hovering over Pantheon and Zed, and neither of those picks would surprise me. I mean, especially in that mid lane, I feel like the SK Prime mid laner Senkux can really pretty much do anything he puts his hand to. Don't forget, game 2, he surprised us with an Ezreal mid, and it surprised me. I'm pretty sure I walked into the office and Lee was like, it's a perfect pick.
And I was like, did you not watch San Jose?
Are you not aware of San Jose?
What have you not been watching going on here?
So,
but yeah. I mean, it hasn't been locked in yet. There it is, finally been locked in. Along with Maokai, actually. So they're securing the top laner. I mean, Maokai used to be that first pick, like insta-lock straight away if it was available. Changed a little bit these days. There is quite a few other options available. But the Zed pick. The Zed pick in the mid, it was banned in every game SK Gaming Prime played in the quarterfinals.
Right.
And for good reason, because we're going to see how it works out for him. You've always got to put a lot of pressure on that first pick, though. I mean, obviously, the Janna first pick, you can't really put too much pressure on that one. But when you see a Zed coming out, the mid liner, a Zed blind going into it, it's a tricky pick.
Yeah, it can be a risk that you can take, especially when approaching a strong mid lane that we have seen energy. He's played kind of poorly on Jace, much better on Orianna, so it'll be interesting to see what he picks into that. Obviously, Ori can be can fare pretty well up against Zed if played correctly. And actually, as we see 2 more picks being locked in. Oh, it's actually no, Sejuani hasn't quite been selected, but still, Graves confirmed for that bot lane. It looked like it locked.
It
did get locked in.
It got locked in at the end.
I was getting doubtful.
It was at the end. So Sejuani is a champion, obviously, we saw Diamond Prox playing at the Intel Extreme Masters in Cologne and played it to great success as well. We're going to be looking at maybe the ganks trying to lock down Zed early on before he gets that ultimate out there. Of course, he will still have that last shadow, so he'll be able to dash away. Very slippery champion in that mid lane. We're going to see where he goes with it. Graves getting locked in, though. This is something we were talking about. Obviously, the Corki-Graves synergy. Interesting that he's gone with Graves first when Corki is available, because that's what they were heading towards normally. But you know what? Sure, why not? It's going to work out for him.
Yeah, exactly. Taking Graves, it also means that now SK know that what they're picking into in their bot lane. They've got that Janna as well selected. And so actually we're going to be seeing in the bot lane from SK Prime, Nami and Severe. Very strong sustain lane, of course. You've got basically restoring mana along from absorbing the spells, as well as that Nami bubble and health sustain as well.
Yeah, it's something, if anyone's just watched OGN this morning, was picked straight away. We've seen it so often, especially from career. They were one of the first ones really to champion it. Of course, we saw it back in Season 2, was a main champion then, but it's made comeback resurgence against the Graves, against the Corki. Seems to be the champion that everyone will go to. And alongside Nami, like you said, there's a lot of sustain there. That's a tricky lane. They are up against, of course, the Janna Graves. So it's a pretty even lane, I think, safe to say, overall. Interesting to see how it's going to go. It's... You know, Crazy Caps, he went with, Graves and Cassandra last time. So quite happily to mix it up. He's between all the AD carries.
Yeah, so he's very flexible. I think you need to be an AD carry, especially in this meta where constantly new patch comes out, you're playing something different.
Yeah.
So you need to be flexible, and seeing it Graves and Severe going head-to-head is going to be a fun one in the bot lane. But now we should actually really start talking about the Kassadin that got picked. They've been thinking about that for a while. Of course, Thaldrin, we know he's played it before. I've played it twice and played it to great effect. In fact, I want to get that score for you because I'm pretty sure it was huge. 12-10 Thaldrin when he played Kassadin. A huge performance from him.
But remember, he is up against the Maokai this time around, which he was before, in his credit. So it's kind of a null lane, I think it's safe to say, in that mid lane, because obviously we see the Orianna being locked in as well, so we know that the Orianna is going to be the mid lane. Pretty sure it's not going to be in the top lane Orianna.
I don't think so.
So we know what it's going to work like. It's going to be a long time going, though. If you look across the whole team, really, for Aces High, bit delayed. Orianna's going to take a while to get going. Kassadin's going to take a while to get going. Graves will have a decent mid-game spike, so they've got a bit of a mix in there. Final pick coming in was Vi, and this is what we were just talking about in the pick and bans. You know, they went for the Rengar ban, but if you look to his Vi, he went 4-3-16. He only went 4-5-4 on Rengar, so I feel that they've banned the wrong jungler there, I think, Aces High. So we'll see how that one works out. But, you know, the pairing that they have, Twisted Advance, you've got the Assault and Battery coming out from the Vi. Zed can be diving on you. They have a pretty scary dive team. Obviously, for an Orianna, he's just going to throw the ball on himself and go, dive on me, I'm going to shockwave you. That's fine. But with a Sejuani in there, if they dive onto the wrong target and he hasn't used that ultimate, he's just going to lock them all up.
Exactly. You mentioned Sejuani, and that's a jungle pick, of course, we don't see so often. And with the Rengar ban, is that, to me, I don't see it as a counter in any way to Sejuani, but I'd understand if they, they were like, okay, we're going to be picking Sejuani. Do you want to face Vi or do you want to face Rengar? And they made the decision, we want to take the Rengar away. He feels confident perhaps against Vi, which
game is underway.
Yep, let's throw on to the Rift and have a look where these guys are going to kick off as we go into our first of the two semifinals we're bringing you today. It's a best of 3 between Aces High and SK Prime.
So here we go. Let's see how this works out for them. Will we have any level 1 shenanigans? It seems it's just going to be a standard lineup as well as looking towards the... Yeah, they're both Binsu and Thaldrin. Look at them. They're just dancing with each other in the top lane. Nobody engaging with one another. So no aggression, just simple setups, which is interesting. We've seen some aggression. I do distinctly remember watching Shy in the LCK, I should say, not the OGN these days because it's the LCK. I distinctly remember watching him and obviously seeing the crazy level 1 fight, and he actually ended up blowing Flash. And this is something that's started to happen over in Korea a lot. They go a little over-aggressive. They start dancing, start prattling around, I think it's safe to say in English terms. And then suddenly they just go into it. I can hear myself.
You can hear yourself.
That's impressive.
And we will fix that.
I don't know, but anyway, interesting. So, okay, we're going to get things underway in a moment. Anyway, I'm just going to have a sneaky peeky because you've got the stream going in the background, haven't you? That's what you've done. I know. I was just thinking, why can I hear that? Right, yeah, that's where it is. Anyway, we'll carry on. It means it's my turn to be cameraman, which is where you can see the mouse suddenly appear. It's been actually a couple of years since this. Last time I did camera work was Intel Extreme Masters Finals at CBIT in 2012, and that was the grand final between Dignitas and, well, then it was Moscow 5, of course, which was a little scary because Moscow 5 at the time were making kills left, right, and center. And I was just like, please do not miss First Blood. I managed to get it. I managed to get it at the time, which was scary because it was like a 2-minute dive on towards Scour in the mid lane. But I managed to get it. So let's get this game underway. We are into the lane phase already. You can see standard lane setup. And let's go through these teams, of course. Starting out, Aces High down this bottom lane. Nardius on Graves and Dumbledore on Janna. So these are players that you might not recognize.
Yeah, this is the bot lane you may not recognize. And of course, up against them, Zaitan and Crazy Caps. Very strong performances from both of these individuals from SK Prime in their first games. And it's going to be really interesting to see how this matchup kind of shapes up. Dumbledore, I've seen him very strong on Soraka previously, and actually up this time opting for Janna, I should say, supporting the Graves in that bot lane. Elsewhere, though, on the map, Thaldrin in that top lane in this Kassadin versus Maokai matchup that he's seen oh so many times already. And he's performed very strongly the last time he met this exact same matchup, going up against Binsu, of course, for SK Prime.
Yeah, meanwhile, of course, the mid lane, this is the big one. Energy on Orianna up against Senkux, who had a magnificent performance on Xerath before. He's going to be on Zed this time around, which was banned away from him by SK Prime. It was actually banned, so they obviously didn't feel that Energy was going to be a threat on this one, and they managed to pick that one up in their first rotation, so we'll see how much of a big deal. But The big thing for me, I want to see how the junglers are going to do, because of course we've got Theocles on this Sejuani, a champion we don't see very often in the jungle for AZ's High, and he's up against, of course, the Vi of, I think it's Taki we're going to say? Taki?
Yeah, Taki we've been going for.
But yeah, he had Vi in the first game against Dark Passage and was magnificent, 4-3-16, and he can really lock down champions. He could be a pretty good counter for Cassidy. Cassidy's going to be very wary about diving in when he could get caught with that assault battery.
Yeah, I think that's a real threat. The fact that Taki, I mean, last time he was on Vi, it felt like he was in every single lane. He'd make an appearance, use his ultimate, even just charge into lane and push someone, force a flash. And he was very present in all of the lanes. Felt like he was almost kind of supporting all three, as opposed to normally you just see more of a single jungle presence. And actually, talking of jungle presence, looks like Theocles may be making a move, and there's no vision to spot him out. Yeah,
no ward there. I think just their movement there, simply, he assumed there was a ward. I think it was. They actually stepped away just because they don't know where anyone is. I think we just saw Vi make an appearance in the top lane as well, so they knew they had no support. I think he just peeked out from that river. But we do see Beansu was actually pretty low up there. And Theocles just going about his business, keeping that farming going. So we'll keep our eye on Taku, see if he does manage to go aggressive. The mid lane was seemingly his target, but they're just going to keep on farming. They want to get that 6 as quick as possible.
Yeah, of course, both these junglers really kind of step it up a gear when they do reach 6. Both ultimates hugely relevant and hugely aid. They're very, very helpful in making a gank happen. Of course, actually, it's really interesting. The fact that you have a Sejuani ultimate and an Orianna ultimate in the same team, this is, I mean, that's a real threat. Actually, Taki's considering some appearance in the mid lane. Energy, obviously on that immobile Orianna, very possible to force a flash early and then, of course, return pre-5 minutes and pick up a kill. And Energy,
look how cautious he's being.
So sketchy.
He's so aware of the situation. He's like, I am not going past the halfway mark. I am not getting baited into this one. Taki's taking a long time to wait here, but Sejuani's now coming down. They know he's coming. They've got a ward, and he's actually going to try and sneak around, and I think Taki fancies a pop at him here. Will manage to get a good shunt on towards him, and look at the damage he can put down back on towards him. Theocles has to run away from this one. Beansu flashing in, doesn't quite get close enough on that twisted advance. Remember, it was shortened a few patches ago, and speaking of patches, we are on 4.21, which I don't think we've mentioned so far. It is not the 5.1 patch, of course, that it has just hit live. So a lot of changes that have come with that one, but we don't have any crazy gates in the bases just yet.
No, not just yet. I think it's going to be interesting, actually, where they do get involved just to see what teams do with that and how that affects the sieges. But still, 4.21, and at the moment, all is calm on the Rift. Energy's the only one who's really had too much of a jungle presence in his lane, and he seems to have dealt with that pretty well. In terms of CS, only 3 behind Senkux. Of course, Zed's so efficient at farming. It's so difficult to even stay equal when laning up against the Zed. On Orianna, actually, he's opting to be maxing his Q. Sometimes we see Orianna's opt for the E if they feel really kind of almost cautious of the Zed player, but no. Energy playing the aggressive style. And in the meantime, of course, in that bot lane, we're talking of CS. Graves and Severe going head-to-head and staying exactly level as well, 51-49.
I love seeing the banter there. It's always good when we can sometimes see the chat. Yeah. Like, I can't move. Click your mouse, mate. Thanks for the tip. Good bit of banter between the teams. But just looking towards that top lane, Beansu's been shoving it in non-stop. He actually, to the point that he's been walking away from that lane because he's been pushing it so hard. We'll see how Thaldrun goes aggressive here, but Beansu not going to worry too much again about this one. I'm pretty sure we're going to see some magic defense coming out from him very early on against Thaldrun. So Thaldrun's going to have to go roaming, I think, to find some kills here. And you can see, obviously that's the thing with Maokai. He's regenerating health in all those spells you keep using on yourself. So Thaldrun will constantly being pushed back, and it's going to force problems actually for Taki, because Taki's like, okay, where do you want me to gank? Because if you look at the bottom lane, they've also been shoving in. Crazy Caps had been pushing them into the tower as well, so they're trying to minimize on the CS, but they're very even all across the lanes right now. The only big difference, of course, is Senkuk's in the mid lane, but that's only because Taki made an appearance.
Yeah, it kind of gave him that slight advantage. And actually, he's been shopping. Both mid laners, in fact, we see a Seeker's arm guard for Energy. He's taking the defensive route. He's going straight towards that zone as he knows he needs that extra armor, especially once that Zed hits 6 and the assassination potential goes up tremendously. And actually, on the other side of things, Senkuk's going for that Cutlass. Obviously, it's kind of 2 build paths you see into the early game Zed, and he's opting to step away from the Brutalizer and go for that Cutlass, which usually signifies he was looking for a kill at 6.
It's always interesting to see how Orianna's build, especially against something like a Zed or something in the mid lane. It's like, how confident are you?
It's the confidence,
so he's going for the arm guard, so he's obviously clearly not that confident against Senkuk's. Whereas you say, I distinctly remember seeing Faker, it's like, no, not going for any of that and just go straight damage, and he just wrecks face. It's very interesting to see, obviously, how confident they are in their abilities, or more importantly, against them champions. But it makes sense. There's a lot of AD on the side of SK Gaming Prime, so no doubt that's a good choice for him. Thaldren has returned to lane. He's not gone towards the tier of the Goddess. Instead, he's going towards Rod of Ages, as is Beansu. So both the champions in the top lane going for the same thing.
Yeah, Rod of Ages, I mean, it's so strong on both of those champions. Rod of Ages on Kassadin makes him feel like such innate tankiness that it feels like this guy isn't an AP assassin, he's a tank. And then suddenly the damage comes out and you're like, he's both. That is the power that Kassadin can possess. And we saw, of course, Thaldren's presence on him previously is huge. So I think, of course, Beansu's going to have done his research. He knows the potential that Thaldren has on Kassadin, and I think it's going to be his mission really to stop the roam or make him pay huge prices for the roam. Yeah,
I'm interested to see how they go, because of course Theocles is going to be forced into that tanky line. There's the assault battery. Flashed away. That's something that you won't be seeing in 5.1, that's for sure, because that sort of just... I know the pro players absolutely hate that. So basically what happened was the assault battery landed, it was going through, but then you've got this one split-second window where you can flash away. And that's something I know Edward, etc. have been extremely vocal on, about this chain CC that you can dodge out of, but instead they're going in the mid.
Energy could be potentially in trouble. Exhaust comes out to reduce that damage from the death mark, and it's all it takes for Energy to live another day, nicely evading that shuriken to ensure his survival. As Energy's just going to happily sit away. He knows the damage and the threat that Senkux now has is completely diminished, and he's going to carry on farming as he knows his jungler is there to keep him safe.
Yeah, going back to that change, it really is something that's going to make a big difference. It's not enabled instantly in 5.2. Oh, Shockwave flashed out of. I think he actually just used last shot. Oh, no, he did flash. He did flash. Had to get out of there. And we did see, of course, Sejuani making an appearance. Theocles. They're going to push the tower here. This is going to be a bit tricky for Senkux to defend. He's going to come back around. He's got a good health, but he may well need a little bit of assistance to try and keep them away from this tower. They're going to get a good chunk, probably half the hit points down already.
Yeah, they're going to be doing a huge amount of damage. Senkux obviously pretty disabled from being able to help him. He hasn't got his ultimate. That's his real threat completely removed. And Zaitan potentially in trouble here. Yeah,
caught out of position here. Tried to come around and help, and Theocles just turned straight back on him there. It's a 3v2, so it's not a fight they want. Aces High doing a good job in the mid lane so far. Still 11 minutes without first blood. It is a... I wouldn't say too passive game, because there has been ganks that have just not been successful yet.
Yeah, I think you're right. It feels like both junglers are really doing their best to support their lanes. It feels like Aces High putting a lot more importance, or considering a lot more consideration towards Energy in that mid lane in comparison to perhaps Takey, who's been a lot more towards top and mid. He's hanging around between the two, and he really wants to lock down Thaldren early.
Well, it does leave, of course, the AD carriers to go at it down the bottom lane. Crazy Cap's going for this one, pops the ultimate, but quickly gets into a straight blast coming out. And Nadia's going to try and turn it around. Teleport comes in. Thaldren does join the fight, and it's going to be cancelled teleport. Beansu actually favouring to stay in the top lane with Taki. They're going to push the tower.
They're going to push it, and they're going to push it fast, but hello, Thaldren, he's hungry for more. Don't think he's quite got that damage just yet. Just a catalyst to his name. He's going to surely back away from that one with his Rift Walk. He's taking these risks. Obviously, he wants to make the most out of that TP that he used, and instead, knowing they push that bot lane, they're going to maybe making a move for Dragon.
Yeah, it's a good choice as well, because they'd switched, gone for that tower. They're going to keep on pushing. They're going towards the inner. Meanwhile, this Dragon will go down. Aces High will pick up first Dragon of the game, and I don't think they're going to get the inner tower. They are warding it out, keeping coverage, so they're going to keep on pushing. No, I don't think they're going to have enough to get in there. Energy taking some burst damage in the mid there from Senkux as well in that straight 1v1. But more importantly, first Dragon of the game to Aces High, first tower of the game to SK Gaming Prime.
Yeah, it's a trade-off, and the gold starts to tip in favor of SK Prime. Now 17.3 thousand to actually pretty close, 16.6. So there's a slight gold lead. Of course, lack of global gold from Dragon does mean that these gold leads are pretty much all kills and CS. And it's interesting how that kind of plays on these team fights, because we were seeing a lot of action early. We're seeing a lot of pushing for turrets and objectives because they won that gold lead. They won that kind of tipping of the scales.
Or is he going to throw the ultimate out? He might try and lock someone up here. Oh, the shockwave missed, actually. That was quite a whiff as well, because that wasn't even flashed away from. They just simply got away. Beansu forced the flash away. It's the rest of Aces High come to defend that mid lane, but SK Gaming, they had a good push on that, while Aces High all back from Dragon.
Yeah, and yet to see a glimmer of hope from Energy. He always seems to be throwing out these whiffed shockwaves. We've seen it before. We saw it last time we saw him on Orianna as well. There was very little impressive play from him on Orianna. Then again, same on Jace. So lackluster performance from the mid lane from Aces High. but still plenty of time to prove himself. Got a best of 3 ahead of him, and we're only 30 minutes into game 1.
Yeah, so let's slow things down. Let's start looking at what the builds are like. You can see, of course, Binsu, with that tower down, as we mentioned, you do get the global gold from the towers, but you don't get it from the dragon, which means Rod of Ages was completed by Binsu, whereas it couldn't be by Thaldrun in that top lane. So slightly ahead in builds right now. We do also see Senkooks. He's just gone and got himself the Brutalizer on there, so he's looking a bit more deadly against Energy, because Energy's having to build up, try and get in there. You can see he's gone for the, I can never remember the damn
Forbidden Idol.
Name of that, the Forbidden Idol, yeah. So he gets the cooldown in there and the mana regen, but of course he's a long way off completing that Zhonya's Hourglass just yet. But really the armor was only picked up just to keep him safe in lane for now. Down the bottom lane, you can see, of course, both teams working towards that Infinity Edge, and actually the AD carry is very much equal right now. The difference being boots, of course, for Nadius, whereas Crazy Caps didn't choose to go for them just yet, so maybe slightly lacking in gold. You can see there is a CS difference, which is probably what that 300 gold difference is.
Yes, CS starting to separate. Nadius in the lead of that one, and CS across the board is still pretty level. Just that bot lane discrepancy that we've highlighted already, and I feel like on Severe, you can just get away with just constantly sitting in this bot lane with the farm. You've got great wave push potential. We see a lot of split push Severes coming into that late game, and Nadius, he has a lot more kind of... He has a lot more on his shoulders. He needs to get big, and he needs to get big quickly, as alongside him and Thaldrun, they're really the most important two, really, considering the energy in the mid lane. Yeah,
interesting to see the Scrying Orb just used by Nadius there in that bot lane. They were very unsure of that positioning. It does mean Sejuani's gone deep now. He's warded up the blue buff, but look at Taki. Taki snuck in towards that bush. There is no ward down the bottom lane at the moment, so he is so far unseen. Scrying Orb is down, which means they're not going to be able to spot him out with that. So we'll see if he manages to sneaky peek his way in there.
Yeah, and you can see Crazy Caps just trying to push this wave as much as he can, make sure there's no vision to spot him out. But of course, Taki, there is a ward in that bush.
Quick, yeah.
And Taki's not making the move. He doesn't want to risk it. Instead, just keeping his whereabouts unknown for now. The wave is going to be pushing forward, of course. And Aces High, if they continue to push, they could be meeting Vi any minute now.
He's charged up. He wants to try and dash across and then Assault and Battery straight onto him. Not close enough, though. Without the flash, of course, he wasn't able to do the full combo. So what I was hoping they'd step forward just that little bit. Instead, took a little bit of lane tax. Theocles, though, going to take down the Gromp, I believe it is, down there. Binsu just playing this one passively. And this is actually working out well for Aces High, while, of course, SK were the ones pushing. You know, they're the ones that want time. Thaldrun in this top lane, they're going to try and go on Binsu.
They have the potential damage to take him down. Of course, Maokai, it's going to take a long time if they do want to, and Theocles is actually going relatively low himself. Maokai still healing away from this one. Binsu just delaying the inevitable as he does eventually fall. We see him going down, and that's going to be the first kill, first blood to Aces High.
Nicely done there. They waited for that one. They've waited their time, but they're going to lose out Dumbledoge in this bot lane. Or are they? It's a lot of towering going on towards Crazy Caps, and now he's in trouble. Thaldrun, one more hit is all it needs. There it is. Shockwave pulls him in. Zaitan in trouble as well. Energy picks up 1, 2. Can he make it a 3? Yes. No. It's stolen away from by Thaldrun. Doesn't matter. All that counts is suddenly the quick turnaround. And SK came in prime. They thought they'd capitalize on the fact the jungler was in the top, but no, they pushed too deep, too fast. They did get, of course, the AD carry down on Naldrin, but that's all. It's now 4-1.
4-1, and I feel like that happened in a matter of minutes. In fact, it was quite literally 2 minutes separating from 0-0 to first blood, 4-1 on the board, and the gold has tipped as well now. 24,000 to just 23.8, and it looks like Thaldrun's not finished yet.
No, they're going to try and take down this middle turret, and it's going to drop, and I think he's going to dash away. He's gone aggressive, but that's the wrong play. He might get Dumbledoge down, but at what cost? It's going to be his life, and that's another kill. So a 3-0-1. We talked about the Orianna. They take a little bit of time to get going, but you start giving him gold like this, he's going to roll. Yeah,
and of course, as soon as he picks up that Relin Omicron, he's going to start building towards the Zhonyas, and that's going to be a whole lot of AP pretty early as well. They're trying to take down this turret.
It's a mistake.
It's going to come in. Binsu's taking a risk. Theocles going relatively low, but he's safe and sound as he has Casting and Orianna beside him to keep him safe. They back away from this one, and Aces High, they kind of starting to pick up a bit of pace here. Yes, the towers do favor SK Prime, but that's all that favor SK Prime.
Yeah, Dragon up in 14 seconds as well, remember, so that's a good tower to take down this early. There is a pink ward still from SK Gaming Prime, giving them vision in the river, so they know they're fairly safe at the moment. And actually, this bottom lane, they have a little duel going on. Taku's going to go aggressive. The ultimate thrown out. It only caught on towards Zaitan. That's a big ulti down for the Ocules. That may well give them problems on this Dragon now.
Yeah, and that was kind of what was kind of being kept in the bank for Dragon. I felt like Theocles was holding on to that one in that previous exchange in mid. He wanted to save that for the Dragon fight because this is something Aces High want to force. But now, with a huge AoE Sejuani ultimate down, that is a huge risk, and I miss it. I apologize. We do see Crazy Caps going down. That's going to be his second death already, as great presence and once again a great gank, this time from Thaldrin.
That absolutely could well be Dragon for Aces High. I would be surprised if SK Gaming decide to contest this one instead. Yeah, they are going to choose to push mid, which is a wise choice by them. And actually, you know, they're saying, screw the Dragon, let's contest them, let's fight them, let's go for them. The Turkish team want a grapple here. Beansu's going to be the focus, getting slowed down every step of the way. Riftwalk across, not going to follow through with the force balls. It does force them off the tower, and now we actually looking back at Dragon, he's dueling it. It's going to be Nardius in there. Theocles rejoins him, and they are going to take the Dragon and successfully defend that inner turret. So, Aces High looking great right now.
Yeah, Aces High seem to be dictating this game beautifully. Instead of taking the Dragon and having to forgo a turret, they managed to play it so well, they do both.
Yeah, that's exactly what they wanted there. Worked out well for them, and that's partially down to the fact they have a pretty mobile team. You know, obviously Cassidy can Riftwalk array all across the map, and look at Senkux. This is a tricky fight. I'm not sure if he's got enough to take him. We'll spot him out there. Quickly Riftwalks away. Last Shadow follows through. He's got him. Thaldrin's going down with the ulti. There we go. Senkux, nice pickup.
Yeah, patience paid off for Senkux, and Zed just trying to get ahead. He's already got his Blade Ruined King completed and the Brutalizer, and that buy usually is a sign that Zed can pretty much take anyone at that stage, unless, of course, someone's got super far ahead, and the only one who's really picked up the kills so far is Energy, sat on 3 for 0. His build is starting to get a little better. Of course, he was pretty forced into a defensive build initially. He had double Doran's Seeker's Arm Guard, and is starting to build towards Morellonomicon, which is the hardest item in the game to say. I think it's fair to say. But
damn you, Morello.
Damn you, Morello. But he does get to complete that one, and actually now he's going to be having a big chunk of AP, and he's going to be doing a huge amount of damage.
Yeah, and this is always something that when there's a Zed on the opposite side, and why it's often so heavily banned out. Obviously, A, you have a bunch of exhausts usually to counter him, which you can see 2 exhausts for Aces High, and B, it forces people to build something like a Zhonya's Hourglass or a Quicksilver Sash. You know, you have to get those defensive items to counter that ultimate. So it's like a double effect. It's like when there's an Evelyn on the other team. You used to have to constantly buy pink wards, etc., and deep ward instead of your standard wards to counter them. So it forces the other side to spend a bit more of their economy really on the defensive items than they would like, I think it's safe to say. But it's working out well for him, and I think that's what we're going to see going further in this game. We're going to see Senkux starting to split push, and you can see him. He's actually pinned at the moment, so he's going to have to go defensive. He can't hold this tower on his own. He's getting the support of Zaitan. He's moving up here on Nami. But this should be the top turret for Aces High. It should be, and turn our attention to Theocles on Sejuani for a minute. We do see a Sidestone picked up relatively early, so he's going that tanky. He shows just how much Aces High want vision early. They want to have a lot of control in the enemy jungle, and that's an interesting pickup from him. He's gone for the Juggernaut enchant as well on his jungle item, as Senkux trying to do his best to push them away from the turret, but it's all a bit too late. Yeah, I mean, he has to be the tank, because he's the man that's obviously going to be charging in. There is no other tank for Aces High, and they are actually, again, keeping that damage. But you can see Beansu, he's already getting that tankiness, and yet all he's got is Merc Dreads and Rod of Ages. That is the power of Maokai. You can be this big tanky menace. While this is all happening, we keep letting the AD carries. They just keep having their own little duel in that bottom lane. They've both gone back to buy again. Now the static shift has been completed by Nardius, just coming out of the base there. So he shoved that wave up. We're going to see Crazy Caps equaling the CS up, because he's going to shove it back down again. And looks like he's also going for a static shift as well. Maybe a Phantom Dancer because he's on Zibber. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if we see a Phantom Dancer. It's not an item you so often see on AD carries, but just because of how beautifully it works with Sevir's kit, I wouldn't be surprised if we see it. Now, Senkux, someone who's always fun to watch. He has that pink ward. Look at this. They're setting up. They're expecting Nardius to come back down and push that wave back up, which is what Senkux is waiting for, but they're not. They're all piling up the mid. They've completely been caught out of position, and Aces High, good bit of tactical play. Great play, great kind of sneaky move from Aces High. This means that they're going to be able to push towards the turret before there's any sort of cavalry to respond. TP's going to be coming in. This is the only real response they potentially have. SK Prime forcing that huge cooldown, or being forced to use that huge cooldown, as Aces High quite happy to back away from this one and look to be forcing a fight. Looks like Taiki could be in trouble straight away. Health bar just disappearing. Energy the one to pick that one up, and that could be the start of something quite special, as we're seeing a split push Zed in that bottom lane. Senkux making a move for that one. Thaldrin's going to be going back to respond, but that's not going to stop Aces High. They're going to keep moving it down the mid lane.
way.
Yeah, they're going to get themselves. Good ulti comes out there. The shockwave only flashed out by one member. It was Beansu actually trying to catch on towards him. They do get the 1 kill in there, but still, they have to make this one work out because they're going to lose that inner turret. They've got 1 turret down so far. Senkuk's doing work. They have to get this inner turret now.
They need to make it. They need to get it fast. Yokkli's just tanking that turret. The bubble's going to slow him down. He can't quite escape. Nami's going to be picking up that kill. Zaitan got a smile on his face as they have to back away from the inhib. And this has worked out quite nicely for Senkuk's. It was a risk he took, but it paid off.
Well, absolutely fantastic stuff. This game, it really is working in just smallest of moments. And you just have these little glimmers. It like sits there, it takes a while, and then suddenly just bursts and everything happens at once.
It seems to be the
it's
way.
It's keeping you on your toes on the camera. That's what it's doing, Alex. That's what it's there for, is to give you little training wheels at the moment. And you are just about catching everything so far.
I'm doing
You've
my
only
best.
missed one fight
One
so
kill
far.
so far, yeah.
It's not too bad.
Yeah, it does mean that you'll occasionally just hear me go, you'll just hear this silence as I'm looking like, where do I want to watch? So yeah.
Panic!
Once again, to you guys in chat, need to highlight this is now my second attempt at being the observer. So you may see a little bit of a poor camera work, but I can apologize for that. As we can see now, Beansu, confident in his tankiness, and you've already highlighted that he's still just sat on that Rod of Ages.
You talk about missing
No! Just as I said it, Senkuk's doing what Zed does best, eliminates the Graves from the map. 35-second death timer for him, and now Senkuk's potentially in trouble. Yeah, Thaldron's got that casted, and that's pretty much a death sentence now for him, as he's going to be taken out quite easily by Thaldron. And we were talking about the fact that Castin, he's not going to be getting kills in his lane. He's sat on now 3-1-6, participating in almost every single kill. That shows the presence that Thaldron even has when he's playing against a Maokai.
Yeah, it's working out well for him. And actually now, Taki's been caught out of position. Does have to quickly dash across in towards the pit. Dragon is up in 10 seconds time, remember. We will see Graves up just in time. And of course, with Senkuk's down, it looks like Aces High may well have the positional advantage here. Theocles going very aggressive, bullying them away from this one. They don't have towers to fall back to, remember, in that mid lane. Great work from Aces High. They're going to get the Dragon. Yeah,
and that was just positioning. All they had to do was force them back with their presence alone. They knew that SK Prime were not willing to teamfight. They knew that they didn't want to take that risk, especially when you have two AoE ultimates like Theocles and Energy, the Orianna and Sejuani combination. Instead, that's going to be the movement speed buff. That's going to be Dragon buff number 3 now for Aces High. And SK Prime, they're looking so very disjointed in this game.
Yeah, they're going to get themselves the Dragon, the blue buff. Everything could go their way. Wow. That blue buff was nearly stolen away by the single sapling. That would have been a bit tragic, safe to say. But Howling Gate, Takey fancies this? Well, I mean, it's not a bad call. Graves has got to be careful he doesn't get caught out of position here as Nardius goes a little peaky. He is going to be in the position to cover off this mid push, which SK Gaming Prime are going to try to do. But, you know, we were talking about SK Gaming being the big favorite coming into this one, and at the moment, it's not looking that way. Beansu, once again, a little out of position. Yeah, and he very well could be taking a huge chunk of damage if Theocles wants to use his ultimate instead, saving it for a rainy day. Doesn't want to risk it just yet, of course, as SK Prime, they are grouping up. This is a 5v5 fight. The numbers don't really favor either side, but of course the items do. 9-5 already. Gold lead heavily in favor of Aces High at this stage. And Aces High, they have the advantage, and we see SK Prime back out. They're not interested in forcing this fight. They have the means to do so. You have a Vi, you have a Maokai. They have the means to initiate a fight, even a severe ultimate, but they don't want to. Well, they didn't want to because you can see the top lane is where Thaldron is, and he's just getting that farm. That's all he's happy to do. We talked about at the start how an Orianna and a Kassadin need a little time to build up. They've got themselves the kills, they're getting the farm, and they are just being... SK Gaming are literally playing into the hands of Aces High right now. This is a precarious position, and Senkuk's, while that split push did do well, it got himself 2 towers, it's left them very exposed. And you're looking towards Beansu at the moment, that's where Aces High are trying to collapse towards, and they're going to start getting Baron control here, and that's something SK Gaming absolutely are worried about. They want to start getting wards in and around that river. Yeah, battle for vision has been pretty constant throughout. Of course, even seeing that early Sightstone was a sign that Aces High had something in store for us in terms of vision. Look at that movement speed boost. They really want to get Sejuani at that front line, and what a front line it's been. A pick we don't so often see, and Theocles has been a huge tanky presence, just forcing fights, but also just being able to push people away. Yeah, while that's happening, of course, Senkuk's again tried to sneak in down that bottom lane, tried to push on, but quickly Thaldron's there. And this is the thing now, like, Thaldron had a disadvantage against Senkuk's at one point. Doesn't have it anymore. He's got the Zhonya's Hourglass, so effectively completely counteracting that ultimate he can throw out. Look across the rest of Aces High. Zhonya's Hourglass completed for Energy in the mid lane. QSS completed by Nada. Suddenly, Senkux is literally a split-pushing monster, but he can't kill anyone. There's no assassin targets other than a support. They do get themselves the mid turret. They've managed to separate, but Aces High are going to engage.
This is bad. This is what Theoki's been looking for. It's the ultimate he's been looking for. Doesn't quite get it. The bubble lands beautifully. Zaitan completely disengaging that fight as any good Nami should. And the shockwave comes in. It's a good one. 3 members of SK Prime pulled in. Their health bars are falling low, but they have a casted. Thaldrin could have pursued. He chooses not to. Aces High seem to be backing down. Or in fact, no, they turn their attention to Senkux.
Yeah, he's the man they wanted. They're going to try and get around the side. Theocles, well, the pop's going to come. It will get him down, but a mid laner for jungler, they'll take that any day of the week. And I tell you what, SK Gaming, while it was a fantastic start for them, they got that mid turret. Now they have to be in full defensive form. There's a possibility for an inhibitor or Baron for Aces High.
Yeah, they should make either decision. And looking at the fact that they're pushing so fast up that mid lane, looks like they made their choice. They won that inhibitor. And in the meantime, Crazy Caps is just split pushing at that top side. And he's going to have to make a move quickly. He needs to rejoin his team, otherwise that inhib's gone. Yeah,
I don't think they can defend this one. It may well try and just do what they can. The inhib will go down. The question is, will anyone get caught out in the process? No, they won't. And that is very successful for Aces High. That's exactly what they wanted. They were forced off the side, and it wasn't the best engage. As you said, Theocles' ulti, it missed, it whiffed. If it would have caught them, absolutely, SK Gaming would have been decimated. We saw, the power that the Sejuani ulti, the Orianna ulti, which did land on 3 people, followed by that force balls coming out from Thaldrin. It does so much damage on them right now. Crazy Caps and Zaitan were down to nothing just from that single combo. If the ulti from Sejuani had landed as well, would have been devastating. It would have been game over.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure the determining factor of that was Zaitan's bubble. We saw a Sejuani go in, and just as Theocles was throwing out his ultimate, he was interrupted and ended up delaying the AoE stun from him, and that threw them all off. SK Prime, fantastic support from Zaitan as an individual, and actually he's picked up 2 kills. I'm not sure that kill distribution on the SK Prime side is ideal. You see 0 for Vi, 4 of course in the hands of Senkux, which is favorable. And actually, talking of Baron, you highlighted it before as a choice for them, and Aces High, they're still clearing out vision. They're still forcing SK to start saying, what if?
But Thaldrin's having to go back again because down the bottom lane is Senkux pushing in that bottom lane, trying to get on towards that inhibitor. He's going to keep doing this because that's really all SK Gaming can hope and pray to do. And instead, wise choice from Aces High. Thaldrin comes down. He can wipe out this wave. Senkux is really, are you going to try and go for this? He has got the damage down, but actually Thaldrin might try and chase him, pulls him away. He's on his hourglass. He will force the pop. He could get him here. Senkux, yes, he will. And now that could be the turret. Can he go for it? The rest of Aces High were trying to shove the top lane, and you see SK Gaming trying to respond. So that is a big telling story. Senkux, he knew that Zhonya's hourglass was coming out for the ulti, and he knew he had support. That's why he didn't throw everything in. He used the ultimate, but didn't use all his spells at the same time, so he didn't get that bonus damage. So he didn't waste his abilities, had them ready and waiting, and he's going to get the inhib turret.
He's going to get it, and beautiful execution from SK Prime, just stopping those recalls, meaning that perhaps we're even going to see an inhib coming out of this one. Beautiful execution from Crazy Cap, stopping 2 people from recalling, and that's all it takes. Zed's going to be picking this one up. Even if Senkux loses his life here, it's a fantastic trade.
If they all recall now, this could be Baron for SK Gaming as well. This could all work in their favor. There's the inhib down. We're equal now, all square. Once again, they're going to go for it. Suddenly Aces High realize, like, Senkux is going to back away from this one. We have to go for that 4v4 fight. There's the Scry and Orbeus. They know exactly where SK are. They're going to back away from it. It's going to force them away from that Baron. We are going to see, of course, Thaldrin up. Teleports in. Comes around the back.
They're looking for it. The flash is forced away. Vi is not interested in this one. Zaitan trying to get away as well. Looks like Beansu's going to be chopped down to size as he does get taken down by Nadius. And that's 1 kill now in favor of Aces High. But they're an inhib down now. They're feeling pretty bruised and battered, and they're going to have to try and take Baron off the back of this one. But look at SK. They're in base. I don't think they can really deal with it.
They got super minions in their base. They had to keep them away from there. They were onto the Nexus turrets. You can see almost took one of those Nexus turrets down. And that will, of course, mean Baron goes to Aces High. This game, it's on a knife edge right now, but Aces High, they've just tipped the scales in their favor.
It really is. Like 5 minutes of silence and then a huge shouting match between these 2 teams.
And between us.
And between us. Exactly. And as the dust settles, let's take stock and really take in what we've just seen. So now, as we turn our attention to the scores, 11-7 now. Kills favoring, and actually Dragon's not going to be favoring them, as that's the first one now picked up for SK Prime, snatching the 4th one, or the potential 4th one away from Aces High. As now 11-7, 51,000 to 49, and the turrets do slightly favor SK Prime, and the Baron buff being picked up by Aces High, forced by the inhib. It felt like it was such a give and take. It was a decision made by SK Prime, and where do you stand on that lead? Does that feel like the right move from SK Prime?
Well, I mean, they had to force it. All they were trying to do is just say, oh, we're going to stop you backing away. And then they got to the point where, like, we're fine with you backing away now because we have the river and we're going to go for Baron as soon as you back away. But instead, they turned it back around. Bottom lane, I think we're about to see a fight between a Baroned up Kassadin. We'll get there in a minute, don't worry.
Oh, God.
A Baroned up Kassadin, and this time Senkook's not wanting that fight, of course. Zonya's Hourglass is back off cooldown. Is he going to check? Ooh, he hasn't gone away. He can't fight him at the moment because there's that big wave. You know what? Thaldrun might fancy this.
As a level 18 not full build, actually take that back, but a level 18 Zed, Senkook's.
You can see he's even questioning himself. He's like, I got super minions against me. I got buffed up Baron minions. It's like, do I want this one? Really, he's just buying time because look at the top lane. You can see all of Aces high. They're rushing up there. Thaldrun's just going to play defensive duties while they take this inner turret down. Nothing SK Gaming could do to defend this one. Moving back to the Dragon, actually, it was a really important Dragon for SK Gaming, of course. It was their first one, which is that 6% damage for AD and AP. So really big buff for them right now as they were starting to fall behind. And against the Baron up team is absolutely what they needed. Yeah,
exactly what the Doctor ordered. And
look at this. They think they can catch out the Zed and in the lane, the blue buff. They're trying desperately to rush down. They're hoping they can catch him out of position. But he is actually coming around behind them. Oh, he's walking into a trap.
Cooks. This is a huge trap. There's an Orianna. There's a huge amount of damage. His health bar disappears. Hexdrinker isn't going to save you this time as Senkook's rocked onto a 50-second death timer and Thaldrun's on his way to support his team.
Yeah, instantly Rift walks towards this. He's like, forget the bottom lane. I'm coming straight for the base. They want to go for the finish here. Of course, the inhibitor has respawned. That's something they want to pick up. And if they can get anything else out of this one, it is all a bonus. They have minions coming with them. Big wave coming towards them. And remember that Nexus turret on the right-hand side is very low on health. This is a possibility for a game ender.
They're looking for it, and Senkook's one mistake could cost them. It's going to be an all too familiar sight. SK Prime, of course, seeing that in their previous game, but it looks like it's going to be a fight.
Yeah, the wave comes around there. The moment Theocles holding on to the ultimate, that's going to be Thaldrun. Does manage to get down on towards the Vi. Vi quickly picked off. Simmer, crazy cap, so low. Will get picked off at the end there. That's going to be Theocles trying to get on towards him. Good shockwave comes in. Zaitan goes down. This is surely the game for Aces High. Remember, Senkook's now respawned. There is many targets of Aces High low on health he could potentially clean up, and that's what they're aware of. They have to step away. They have to respect the power of Senkook's on that Zed.
Senkook's one-man's presence was all it took to stop the potential first game going in favor of them. And actually, we're seeing the potential base being, in fact, with the turret going down, they lost the turret. That's the power of this one inhib taken down. They took so many risks, and actually, at the end of that, SK Prime dust themselves down and say that wasn't too bad.
Yeah, that's down from Thaldrun, obviously having to go for it. They didn't actually get a Nexus turret themselves because they ended up going for the kills, ignoring the Nexus, instead of hitting the damn turret, which is so often I get scream about. And that actually came out worse. While they got the kills, sure, great. You've lost the Nexus turret. That's not good. And Senkook's, look at this. No surprise. Back down to that mid lane. Let's go again with a split push.
Yeah, Zed just rinse and repeat, and you can do. He's got Yamu's, Blade of the Ruined King, got his Last Whisper as well, and building that BF sword as well to get even more AD as if he needed it. And Thaldrun, he can get caught out here.
No Zonya's Hourglass on Thaldrun this time. I wonder if Senkook's is going to know it. Does he know the timing on it? Because it was used in that engage. He's not going to go for it. He could have won that fight easily. With Siva coming down as well, that would have been a clean sweep. And actually, SK Gaming Prime right now have the advantage.
It does feel like that. Gold, of course, not in their favor, but that doesn't always tell us how the game is going. You can see Aces High have it. They seem to have such a strong, like, 20, 25 minutes, and as the game goes on and time ticks away, SK Prime seem to starting to turn the tide of this one. Takey leading
the run into each other.
They're just going to meet in the middle of a forest. Everyone's like, nope, not having any of that. Senkook's the only one really looking for combat, but he can't quite connect onto Dumbledog. And instead, SK Gaming, or SK Prime, I should say, are going to be trying to make a move for the open inhib.
So the open inhib has respawned. Thaldrun actually having to back away. He's having to recall to base. So that's going to be an inhib going down. SK going to take this one with ease, no doubt about it. So good reactions, good response. Oh, Shockwave pulled. They're going for it. Good ultimate comes out there. Senkook's so low. This could be it. Aces High cleaning up here in the base of SK Gaming. Crazy Cap's now the focus target. One more hit should be enough. There's the force pulse. Zaitan will go down as well. Kassadin cleaning up. And just like that, Aces High ace SK Gaming.
This is the dream. That was what they were looking for the entire time.
They're running. They're charging for the finish.
They need to get this one. 37 minutes, 20-8 as the scoreline currently stands. And the TP's coming in. Thaldrin knows what he needs to do. He knows his job. He's got his home guards as if he couldn't get there quicker. And they're looking for that base. 20 seconds until the last man comes up. SK Prime, they're looking pretty out of shape here. And I think that's going to be the first game going in favor of Aces High. All it took was one successful Sejuani and Orianna ultimate.
Well, just as we thought, SK Gaming Prime had stole the march on them. They got in there, got the inhib. A big shockwave lands, no doubt about it. And, of course, the Sejuani ultimate.